All right, I will tell you in advance, you need to go to abcnews.com to find out more about this new documentary film, okay? Because it really wants to open your eyes about the way we eat. We're not going to have enough time to discuss it all here. You're going to want to know this information. It is called Food, Inc. Now, Variety says that this film does for the supermarket what Jaws did for the beach. Food, Inc. literally tracks down not only where the food you eat comes from, but also what it may be doing to your family. Take a look. How we eat and where our food comes from has changed dramatically in the last 50 years, from small farms to giant agribusiness. And according to the film Food, Inc., these changes are doing us more harm than good.
How many of us know one person in our family with diabetes?
The story tackles everything from the rapid rise in diabetes. 1 in 3 Americans born in this century will be diagnosed with it. And also global food shortages.
The world's running out of food and nobody's talking about it. We have no reserves.
As the filmmakers follow the 1,500 miles from farm to dinner plate that much of our food travels, they expose how much meat average Americans eat each year, upwards of 200 pounds per person, and how they say the meat industry is negatively impacting our planet.
My favorite meal to this day remains a hamburger and French fries. I've been eating this food all my life without having any idea where it comes from. Any idea how powerful this industry is?
The film proposes solutions as well, ones which we consumers can make every day.
When we run an item past the supermarket scanner, we're voting for local or not, organic or not.
All right, and we're joined now by best-selling author of In Defense of Food, Michael Pollan, and Robert Kenner, the director of the film Food, Inc. And don't worry, yes, we do have the burger and fries out here. You don't have to eat it, although many Americans love this food. Now, let's talk with this. I was moved by the documentary. I start tweeting about it, and some people say, thanks for the information, but a lot of people say, I don't want to know, don't tell me, shut up, you're ruining my day. You're not surprised by this in the making of the film?
Well, I think agribusiness certainly doesn't want us thinking about where our food comes from. There's a real desire to sort of keep us behind the veil and not let us see where it's produced and how it's grown.
But there's a little head in the sand also, though, Michael, because if you know, you then might have to change how you live, and you don't want to.
I think that's right. I think, you know, if you visit feedlots, as I have, you lose your appetite for certain kinds of food. And, you know, so some people are in denial, but increasingly, I think, people are very curious to know the story behind their food.
I think you're right about that. Now, Food, Inc., you begin by saying that the way we eat has changed more in the last 50 years than the previous 10,000. Explain.
Well, our food has been fundamentally transformed without us seeing these changes. Chickens have been redesigned to have large breasts and have a lot more meat, and they grow a lot faster. The tomatoes, they don't go bad, but they have no taste at this point. They're nice and shiny and red. They look the same on some levels, but they're a different tomato.
There used to be thousands of slaughterhouses for beef. Now there are just over a dozen. Is that accurate?
Yeah, there are a dozen that provide us more than 50% of our meat in the United States.
And with that concentration, you then have a concentration of problems. I think you say in there that a burger patty, you think that may come from one steer, but it could come from hundreds, the residue.
It could come from thousands, and it could come from steer from different countries as well.
Now, you wanted to capture the path of the food, nice and simple, but you say that as you got more into it and the wisdom of it, it became more like a horror film for you. Why?
Well, you know, you follow the food back to the source, and this burger looks like burgers have always looked, but now it's a very different product. It does have so many different animals are represented in it. You've got one plant, you know, that might be grinding 10 million burgers in a week. And that's very dangerous, because if a microbe gets in there, E. coli or something like that, it now affects 10 million people.
Now, a lot of people don't like to hear this. They'll think it's political agenda, but let's go to fact about corn. How corn is at the root of all of these things, and it makes so many of the chemicals, and it is subsidized by the government, so it's the cheapest.
Well, that's
so it's going to be the easiest, and it's going to be in the most places, and your theory is it's also the worst for you?
Well, unfortunately, the food we're eating now is making us sick. 1/3 of all Americans have early onset diabetes, and a lot of it is caused by this corn and this soy, which we are subsidizing.
Basically, corn and soy are the building blocks of the fast food diet. Corn becomes the high fructose corn syrup. Hydrogenated soy oil comes from soy. And these are the kinds of calories, the least healthy calories in the supermarket, that our government subsidizes. So while we have this huge public health problem, we are actually subsidizing things like high fructose corn syrup.
And now we get to the bottom line, which is money. Times are tough. You're well aware of this. The solution we hear is organic, assuming it's well done, but it's expensive. The Walmart guy in the film, the chief dairy buyer, says, if the consumer wants it, we back it. So where's the middle ground? How do we make organic accessible to people so you don't have to spend a fortune to feed your family, Michael?
Well, we have to change the rules of the food game in this country. We have to start subsidizing healthy food. We have to encourage farmers to diversify their farms and grow. You know, the fresh produce is not subsidized. We're subsidizing the junk food. So we have to change the farm policies in this country so that we can make healthy, nutritious, wholesome, fresh food available to everybody.
The small farmer seems very attractive in it, but he says my dozen eggs is $3. It's tough.
Well, we're with a family who's eating this sort of junk food and this processed food, and unfortunately that same family who can't afford that organic food is now spending $500 a month for medicines.
And that's the trade-off, you see. The more we spend on food, the less we have to spend on health care.
All right, Michael, Richard, thank you very much. You can read more online.